Good evening, guys, and welcome back to the classroom with Architect Mark. Tonight, we're going to go on Sketchbook once more to talk about the rest of the top toolbar and what they do for us. Fun fact, I managed to restore the uh, pressure sensitivity, and we'll see that in action when we go to the Sketchbook. And so, without further ado, let's go back to the classroom and see what else Sketchbook has for us. All right, so once again, we're here. I started my timer. I'm now on my pen, no longer on my mouse. And as you can see, I have been trying it. That's why it's on this. What is this tool? The ink. Oh, it went away. The inking tool. Okay, so let's change the color to something more visible. Yeah, let's do red. And then, where did we stop here? I think we stopped the French curve. Yeah. So, next we have perspective guides. Now, what these are pretty interesting guides. You can't see them, but there's actually a grid happening here, and it's referencing these 2 points right here. So these are vanishing points. As you can see, if you go around it, the cursor points towards the direction of the vanishing point. So right now I am in two point mode or 2 point perspective. Oh, you can't see. Okay, let me just remove myself for a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. There we go. So this is a 2 point perspective mode. So when you draw while in this mode, you can see that it follows the vanishing points absolutely. And if you try to go up, there you go. You just easily are able to create a room using the vanishing point guides. So this is invaluable, especially for uh, persons that are studying architecture, or maybe they want to do something that requires this, like for example doing cities or view that requires some perspective. Now there's also a 1 point perspective, which means all the lines converge to the center. So let's remove the earlier one through delete. I think maybe we could restore me already. All right, so all the drawing lines converge to the center. This is useful for when you're creating or trying to create a scene inside like a room scene. This is very useful for that. So for example, you want to create a table over here. Oops. Yeah. So you must be aware that when you're using this tool, when you drop your pencil or your stylus, it starts from there and considers the direction where you're going and snaps you to that. So what else? Well, 1 point, 2 point perspective. We also have 3 point perspective. This is useful for more dramatic scenes. Like, for example, you want to do a city scene. So you have all of these points available to you. So like when you're doing a building like that, you can do that. Maybe put some windows here. So as you can see, when you're using this tool, you need to like let it rest for a little bit before continuing on with your next line, because if you don't, it tries to summon up the the, the panel that turned up earlier. So what else? Apart from 3-point perspective, we also have this, which is, what is this called? A fisheye mode. That means when you're literally drawing uh, you're drawing like as if you were using a fisheye camera. Oops, I wanted to go this way. So, for example, uh, we're creating like a scene where there's people walking over here, and let's just remove the guide for a little bit, and then let's put people walking over here, and then people walking at the other side. So yeah, for that world effect, or maybe you're just doing something that requires this, that's a pretty good guide actually. It helps you like develop the space even further. Like if this were a bench, something could be, you know, just remember to maintain the horizon and the distortion for things that are all around the scene, even especially solid ones. Like if there was a building, it needs to be also involved in the fisheye. Right. We have snap. That means when it's on, oh, you don't need to turn it off. You just turn off the snap and you can already do things without having to remove the tool altogether. Okay, that's right. Locking vanishing points. Of course, you can move these if you wanted. These are the handles on Sketchbook. They look like these circles. And then if you don't want to be bothered by those guidelines and you just want to draw naturally, but with the guide, you can do that by turning off the guide visibility. All right, symmetry, we know that. Steady stroke. Now, right now it's set to 40. I think, yeah. So when it's on, you can see that there's a dotted line behind your cursor. And it's basically following your movement, but making it smoother as it goes along. So let's use a more apparent one so you can see how this works. See, so you're writing basically into the future. And when you're writing, it's being smoothed out. So it doesn't have any jitter whatsoever. That's what steady stroke does. So this is with steady stroke, and this is without. Not bad, yeah, but you can see that this is much smoother. So much smoother. Now, apart from that, we also have predictive stroke. What's this do? All right, so predictive stroke waits until you finish your movement and then makes that smooth. So, for example, you try to draw a perfect circle. So, as you can see there, when we lifted the pen, predictive stroke went in. See that? So it kind of thinks that, oh, maybe you're trying to draw this instead of what you're actually drawing. But I think it only works for closed lines. Let's try a square. Okay, so it doesn't work if you lift your pen though. So it's mostly for curves. Yeah, for circular curves. Of course, we also have shapes here because sometimes you just need a straight line and this will do it for you. A square, a circle, or an ellipse. You can hold the shift button down so that you can lock it into place. And then something like this, which is basically a polygon maker. So you identify the polygon first, and then commit the polygon with an enter stroke. So yeah, I think apart from, okay, let's just go through these last few ones here, even if we're beyond the 12 minutes. Layers, we already know what these are. These allow flexibility for us. You can move this around layers. So this will be the top one, and then this will be the underneath this top one. So you can input images here or references. You can put them here. You can control the opacity of a layer. If you want it to be like a reference for your next frame, you can do that. All right, so that's layers. These are, this is a toggle so that we can see the brush palette. This is a toggle for the color editor that appears also here, but that's more friendly. So you can put your most used ones here. You can create your palette. Of course, there are settings for this as well. If you want to be super specific, you can do that. Then we have Copic Library. If you don't know what this is, Copic is basically like a Pantone selection for markers. And there's a lot of interest here. For example, if you use specific greens to like brush around and render. So let's put a layer here underneath the first one. So we can use a Copic marker. Like, oh, let's go with the gray. C4. Then let go of our shape so we can brush away like we need to. What's the opacity on this? Doesn't seem to be working. Maybe we need this or something bigger because this is Copic after all. So if you use the marker tool, is this the marker? Yeah. So you're able to simulate as if you're using the Copic line of physical uh, physical markers. These are great actually. And you can see them blending into each other through intersections. And of course, pressure doesn't really take that well into consideration. But when you stop, as you can see, it's simulating as if, okay, the marker stopped here, so there would be some pooling of the color. So yeah, I think that should be it for the beginner sketchbook, or rather, it's not beginner. It's the base sketchbook model. Let me just remove this for our photo in a little bit. Okay. I hope I was able to introduce the program to you quite well. And if you own your own tablet, I suggest trying this out so that you'd be comfortable working on your tablet and understanding the mapping, especially if you're using one of these older tablets that did not have a screen, because screens are so expensive before. Now they're a little more lower priced and realistically can be owned by anyone. So that's it. I will see you guys next meeting, which will be tomorrow. Take care. Good night.